The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between stars. Inside its crystal walls, hundreds of alien beings sat in a great circle. Their bodies were all different shapes and sizes. Some had tentacles, others had wings, and many had colors that humans had never seen before. Today was not a normal day. Today they were all very angry and scared about one thing: humans. Ambassador Vector stood up from his seat. He was tall and thin, with forearms that moved like snakes. His skin was purple and covered in small scales. When he spoke, clicking and whistling sounds came from his mouth. A small machine changed his words into the common language that all species could understand. "Look at what these humans do," Vector said, pointing at the floating pictures above everyone's heads. "They have no fear of anything. This is very dangerous." The pictures showed humans doing things that made all the aliens feel sick with worry. In one picture, human children were playing with creatures that looked like giant spiders made of fire. These fire spiders had destroyed entire planets before, but the human children were laughing and petting them like small dogs. Another picture showed Captain Lee Dongwu, a human trader. He was hugging a being made of pure ice and crystal. This crystal elder could freeze entire atmospheres with just a touch, killing millions of living things in seconds. But the human captain was smiling and patting its shoulder like they were old friends. Dr. Park Mina appeared in the next picture. She was working next to beings that looked like living shadows with too many eyes. These shadow creatures had mental powers so strong that just being near them had driven other aliens completely insane. But Dr. Park was calmly taking notes and asking them questions about their research. "You see?" Vector's voice got louder. "Humans walk up to our most dangerous species like they are meeting neighbors at a market. They show no fear at all. Either they are too stupid to understand danger, or they are the most dangerous thing in the galaxy." An alien that looked like a floating jellyfish with metal tentacles spoke up. "Maybe they are just brave?" "Brave." Vector laughed, but it sounded like breaking glass. "No species is this brave. The Titan clans are 3 times taller than humans and can crush starships with their bare hands, yet human traders walk among them, making jokes and selling them goods. The Psychic Collective can read minds and control thoughts from across star systems. Yet human diplomats sit at their tables, eat their food, and discuss trade agreements." More pictures appeared. Human scientists were working with beings made of pure energy. Human children were riding on the backs of space whales that could swallow moons. Human artists were painting portraits of creatures that existed in 7 dimensions at once. "This is not normal behavior," said another alien, this one looking like a tree made of silver. "All species have fear. Fear keeps us alive. Fear makes us careful. Without fear, a species dies very quickly." "Exactly." Vector nodded with all 4 of his arms. "But humans have been spreading across the galaxy for 50 years now. They should be dead. Instead, they make friends with everything they meet. They have no respect for the natural order." The great hall filled with worried sounds. Growls, chirps, electronic beeps, and other noises that meant fear in hundreds of different languages. An ancient alien that looked like a floating brain in a glass container spoke slowly. "What do you suggest we do? Direct war with humans has not worked well for anyone who tried it." This was true. Several species had tried to fight humans in the past. The humans had a strange way of fighting that no one could predict. They would, use tactics that made no sense, form alliances with their enemies' allies, and somehow always find ways to win battles they should have lost. "War is too risky," Vector agreed. "But we have another option. Something that has been sleeping in the deep vaults for 10,000 years. The hall became very quiet. Everyone knew what he was talking about, but no one wanted to say the name. "The Kethmore," whispered the floating brain. Several aliens made sounds of terror. Others moved away from the center of the room. The Kethmore were legendary creatures of nightmare. They were apex predators created by an ancient species called the progenitors. These creatures were designed to hunt and kill anything, anywhere, anytime. The progenitors made the Kethmore to be perfect killers, Vector explained. They are faster than light, stronger than starship hulls, and smarter than most civilized species. They can track prey across entire galaxies. They never give up, never get tired, and never show mercy. But the progenitors locked them away for a reason, said the Silver Tree alien. Even their creators feared what they had made. Yes, Vectar smiled with too many teeth. But now we need them. If humans have no fear, let them meet something that will teach them what fear means. Let them try to make friends with creatures designed to hunt and kill the most advanced species in the galaxy. The vote was taken quickly. 847 species all agreed. The humans had to be stopped before their fearless behavior destroyed the careful balance of galactic civilization. Deep in the oldest part of the galaxy, in vaults built by beings who had turned to dust millions of years ago, ancient machines began to hum with power. Stasis pods that had been cold and dark for 10,000 years started to warm up. Inside each pod, something that had been sleeping began to wake up. Something hungry. Something designed to hunt. Something that had been waiting a very long time for new prey. The Kethmore were coming. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council made their terrible decision. Now, streaks of fire began falling from the sky above human worlds like angry shooting stars. But these were not natural meteors. These were weapons that had been sleeping for 10,000 years. On Luna Colony, Security Chief Kim Jin-ho was drinking his morning coffee when the first alarm went off. He ran to the command center and looked at the big screen that showed everything happening around the moon. A bright object was falling fast toward Crater Valley, the empty area on the far side of the colony. "What is that thing?" asked his assistant, Lee Soo-jin. "I don't know," Kim Jin-ho said, watching the object crash into the lunar surface. "But it's big." His sensors told him where the object had landed. Then, one by one, his cameras and detectors in that area stopped working. Something was moving through Crater Valley, and it was destroying everything that tried to watch it. "Sir," Lee Soo-jin's voice was shaking. "The perimeter alarms are going off. Something is coming toward the colony." Kim Jin-ho looked at his remaining cameras. What he saw made his blood feel cold. A creature was walking across the lunar surface toward their dome. It was huge, maybe 12 feet tall, and covered in black scales that looked like polished stone. The thing had 6 eyes that glowed, like red fire, and it moved with the smooth grace of a hunter. "Wake everyone up," Kim Jin-ho said quietly, "but tell them to stay calm. No running, no screaming. This thing looks like it hunts by fear." The creature reached the outer wall of their dome and stopped. It tilted its head to one side like a cat watching a mouse. But it didn't attack. It just stood there, studying the colony with its burning eyes. Dr. Yoon So-young, the colony's scientist who studied alien life, came running into the command center. She looked at the creature on the screen and made a surprised sound. "That's not hunting behavior," she said softly. "Look at how it holds its head. Look at its body position. It's curious, not aggressive." "Curious about what?" Kim Jin-ho asked. "About us." The creature began walking around the dome's outer wall. It touched the metal with claws that could probably cut through starship armor, but it was being very gentle, like someone examining something interesting and fragile. Then it did something no one expected. It sat down. The massive predator settled onto the ground like a giant cat and just waited. Its 6 eyes never stopped watching the colony, but it made no move to attack. "I'm going out there," Kim Jin-ho said. "Sir, that's crazy," Lee Soo-jin protested. "Maybe, but if that thing wanted to kill us, we'd already be dead. It could have broken through our dome in seconds." Kim Jin-ho put on his spacesuit and walked to the airlock. When he stepped outside, he could feel the creature's eyes on him immediately. But instead of feeling like prey, he felt like he was being examined by something very intelligent. Dr. Yoon followed him outside. Behind them, other colonists began gathering at the dome's windows. Nobody was screaming or running. They were all watching with the same curiosity the creature was showing. The Kethmore tilted its head the other way when Kim Jin-ho approached. It made a low sound, like a big cat purring mixed with the rumble of distant thunder. "Hello," Kim Jin-ho said. feeling a bit foolish for talking to a creature that probably couldn't understand him. The creature made another sound, different this time, almost like it was trying to copy the rhythm of his words. Far away on Mars, something very similar was happening. Construction worker Choi Min-soo had been digging tunnels deep underground when another Kethmore pod crashed nearby. The creature had chased him through the dark tunnels for what felt like hours, but it never quite caught him. It moved like liquid shadow, always just behind him but never attacking. Finally, Choi Min-soo couldn't run anymore. His legs were tired, his air was running low, and he was completely lost in the maze of tunnels. He sat down on a box of mining supplies and put his head in his hands. "This is stupid," he said out loud. "If you wanted to kill me, you would have done it already. What do you want?" He looked up and saw 6 red eyes watching him from the darkness. The Kethmore stepped into the light of his helmet lamp. Up close, it was even more frightening. Its claws were longer than kitchen knives, and its teeth looked like they could bite through metal. But instead of attacking, the creature sat down too. "You're just watching me, aren't you?" Choi Min-soo said. "Like, I'm some kind of puzzle you're trying to figure out." The creature made a sound, low and questioning, so Choi Min-soo began to talk. He told the creature about his work, about how boring it was to dig the same tunnels every day. He talked about his wife back on Earth, how much he missed her cooking, and her laugh. He even complained about his boss, who always wanted the tunnels finished faster than was safe. The Kethmore listened to every word. Its head moved slightly when Choi Min-soo's voice changed, like it was trying to understand not just the sounds, but the feelings behind them. Similar stories were happening all across human space. On Europa Station, a Kethmore followed around Dr. Park Ji-hoon's research team like a large, dangerous pet. On Titan Base, another one helped carry heavy equipment, being very careful not to damage anything with its massive claws. The apex predators that were supposed to hunt and kill humanity were doing something the Galactic Council had never expected. They were making friends. 3 weeks after the first Kethmore landings, reports were coming in from every human colony in space. But these were not the reports anyone had expected to hear. On Titan Station, researcher Young Da-haye was trying to study ice samples when she noticed something following her team. The Kethmore that had arrived 2 days ago was walking behind them like a giant black-scaled dog. When Young Da-hee stopped to take measurements, the creature stopped too. When she moved to a new location, it followed. "It's not hunting us," she told her team leader over the radio. "I think it's helping. Yesterday it carried our heavy equipment without being asked. And look at this." She pointed to a deep crack in the ice that they had been trying to cross. The Kethmore had already placed a metal beam across it, making a perfect bridge. "It's solving problems for us," Young Da-haye whispered in amazement. On Europa Base, something even stranger was happening. Dr. Kim Tae-woo was recording his daily research notes when he noticed the local Kethmore making sounds. At first, the sounds were just low rumbles and growls, but over several days, the creature began copying the rhythm and tone of human speech. "Listen to this," Dr. Kim told his colleagues, playing back his recordings. On the first day, the Kethmore sounded like a wild animal. By the 7th day, it was making sounds that almost seemed like words. "It's learning to talk," said his assistant, Dr. Oh Min-jung. "But how is that possible? These things are supposed to be mindless killers." Back on Earth, Dr. Han Ji-woo was studying all these reports in her office. As Earth's best expert on how alien minds work, she was trying to understand what was happening. She had studied hundreds of alien species, but she had never seen anything like this. The Kethmore were supposed to be the galaxy's perfect hunters. They were designed to track down and kill anything. But instead, they were acting like curious children who had found new friends to play with. "There's a pattern here," Dr. Han said to her research team. "These creatures aren't treating us like prey. They're treating us like family." She spent days reading through old alien records, trying to find clues. Finally, she found something that made her blood run cold. Deep in the archives was information about the creatures that had created the Kethmore long ago, beings called the progenitors. The progenitors had been the most advanced species in the galaxy. They had technology that seemed like magic. They could travel between stars in seconds, live for thousands of years, and change reality with their thoughts. But most importantly, they had no fear of anything because nothing in the universe could hurt them. Dr. Han realized the horrible truth. The Kethmore had been designed to hunt the progenitors themselves. They were programmed to find and challenge the most fearless beings in existence. That's why they're not attacking us, she said to her team. Humans aren't afraid of them. We're curious about them. We want to understand them. To the Kethmore, we must look exactly like their original creators. Meanwhile, in the crystal halls of Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was in panic. Ambassador, Vector was screaming at a group of strange aliens called the Omnari. The Omnari were the ones who had kept the Kethmore sleeping for 10,000 years. You told us they would kill the humans, Vector shouted. Instead, they're becoming pets. The Omnari leader was a being that looked like flowing water with lights inside it. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind through caves. The Kethmore are doing exactly what they were designed to do, the Omnari said calmly. They seek the greatest challenge, the most worthy opponents. But they're not fighting the humans at all. No, the Omnari agreed. They are recognizing them. The Kethmore were created to hunt the progenitors, beings who had no fear because they were beyond fear. The humans show the same psychological patterns: curiosity instead of terror, interest instead of panic. To the Kethmore, humans smell like their long-lost creators. Vector felt his four hearts skip beats. You mean? The humans are not prey to the Kethmore, they are pack members. On New Sol Station, something amazing was about to happen. Sergeant Lee Hai-jin had been working with scientists to figure out how to talk to the Kethmore that had arrived at their base. They had discovered that the creatures communicated using sounds too low for human ears to hear, mixed with chemical smells. Using special equipment, Lee Hai-jin had learned to make some of these sounds and smells. She had been practicing for days, trying to say simple things like hello and friend in Kethmore language. Finally, she felt ready to try real communication. She walked up to the creature, which was sitting quietly in the station's main corridor. Taking a deep breath, she made the sounds and released the chemicals that should mean, "We want to understand you." The Kethmore's 6 eyes focused on her immediately. It tilted its great head and made a series of low sounds mixed with scent markers. The translation computer worked frantically to understand the meaning. When the translation appeared on Lee Hai-jin's screen, she almost fell over in shock. The words would change everything humans thought they knew about these creatures. Makers. You smell like makers. We remember the first pack. We have waited so long for the makers to return. The Kethmore had been waiting 10,000 years not for prey to hunt, but for their family to come home. Once humans learned how to talk with the Kethmore, everything changed very quickly. The news spread from colony to colony like fire through dry grass. These creatures were not monsters sent to kill them. They were ancient friends who had been waiting for thousands of years to find their family again. On New Busan Colony, the construction workers had given their Kethmore a name. They called him Forge because he was so good at building things. Forge had watched the humans work for a few days, then started helping without being asked. His claws, which looked so dangerous, turned out to be perfect tools for delicate work. Watch this, said construction boss Park Hyunwoo to the other workers. He pointed to where Forge was operating a giant crane. The machine was designed for humans, but Forge had figured out how to use it in just one day. His reflexes were so fast that he could move heavy building materials with perfect precision. He's better at this than any of us, admitted crane operator Lee Sang-min. Yesterday, he caught a falling beam that would have crushed 3 workers. He moved faster than our eyes could follow. The really amazing thing was that Forge seemed to understand what they were trying to build before they explained it. He would bring materials to the right place at exactly the right time, like he could read their minds. On New Incheon Medical Station, something even more incredible was happening. Dr. Choi Yoon-young was performing surgery on a patient when she noticed the local Kethmore, who the staff had named Healer, standing quietly in the corner of the operating room. His senses are incredible, Dr. Choi explained to her medical team. He can detect things our instruments can't measure. Yesterday, he warned us about internal bleeding that our scanners hadn't found yet. He saved that patient's life. Healer would stand very still during operations, his 6 eyes focused on the patient. When something was wrong, he would make a soft sound and point with one of his claws to exactly where the problem was. The doctors had learned to trust him completely. But the biggest breakthrough came when engineer Kang Soo-jin finally figured out how to have real conversations with the Kethmore. She had been working with the one called Echo for weeks trying to understand their complex language. It's not just sounds, Kang Soo-jin explained to her research team. They use vibrations too low for us to hear, mixed with chemical smells, that carry meaning. It's like they're speaking with their whole body at once. Using special machines, Kang Soo-jin had built a translation system. When she first used it to ask Echo a simple question, the answer made her cry. We waited so long, Echo said through the translator. The makers went to the great silence and we slept until new makers came. You smell like them. You think like them. You are the new pack. Echo told Kang Soo-jin stories that changed everything. Humans thought they knew about the Kethmore. They had not been weapons of war. They had been exploration partners to the ancient progenitors. Together they had traveled to distant galaxies, discovered new forms of life, and shared adventures across the universe. We flew between the stars together, Echo explained. The makers had big thoughts and we had strong bodies. Together we could go anywhere, learn anything. Then came the great ending. Sickness that ate stars. The makers fought it, but they lost. Before they died, they told us to sleep until new makers came. The Kethmore had been waiting in their sleep pods for 10,000 years, dreaming of the day their creators would return. When the Galactic Council woke them up and pointed them toward human colonies, the Kethmore thought their dreams had finally come true. The fear speakers who woke us, Echo said, referring to the aliens who had released them. They smell wrong. Prey scent. Weak mind that runs from danger. But you... Echo moved closer to Kang Soo-jin. You carry hunt scent like us. Pack mind that seeks new things instead of hiding from them. Dr. Song Min-jung, working on Ganymede Station, made discoveries that would change human civilization forever. The Kethmore had technology that seemed impossible. They showed her living spaceships that could heal themselves when damaged, like animals healing from wounds. Look at this, Dr. Song said to her amazed research team. She was examining a small piece of Kethmore biotechnology under a microscope. It's not just alive, it's thinking. This material can change its shape and properties based on what it needs to do. The Kethmore called their ships growth ships, because they literally grew them instead of building them. The ships were alive, with nervous systems that could think faster than any computer humans had ever made. They could travel between dimensions, repair battle damage in minutes, and adapt to any environment. We want to share growth making with New Pack, Echo told Kang Soo-jin. Makers always shared knowledge. Pack mind grows stronger when all members learn together. The Kethmore began teaching humans how to grow living buildings, create self-repairing machines, and even how to make their own bodies stronger and healthier. They had spent millions of years perfecting their evolution, learning how to become better versions of themselves. But the most amazing thing they offered was something that had no name in human language. It was a way of thinking and feeling that connected all pack members together, not mind reading but something deeper, a way of understanding each other without words. Pack bond, Echo called it. When makers and Kethmore work together, both become more than they were alone. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Kethmore were home. 3 months after the Kethmore had bonded with humanity, the Galactic Council realized they had made the worst mistake in their history. Instead of destroying the humans, they had given them the most powerful allies in the galaxy. Ambassador Vector stood in the war room of Nexus Prime, staring at reports that made his 4 hearts beat with fear. Humans and Kethmore were working together on every colony. They were sharing technology that the Council had never seen before. Worse, they seemed to be getting stronger every day. We have to stop this now, Vector told the assembled war leaders, before it's too late. He had gathered a fleet of 200 warships from dozens of species. It was the largest military force the galaxy had seen in 1,000 years. Surely, even humans and their new pets couldn't stand against such power. "We Butiu will destroy Earth first," Vectar announced. "Cut off the head and the body will die." The massive fleet moved toward the Sol system like a dark cloud of metal and weapons. As they got closer to Earth, the alien crews expected to see a world in chaos. They thought they would find humans running in terror from the monsters they couldn't control. Instead, they saw something that made them question everything they thought they knew about the universe. Earth had changed completely. Tall towers made of living materials stretched from the ground all the way up to space. These towers pulsed with colored lights like giant heartbeats, and ships moved in and out of them like blood through veins. The towers weren't built, they had been grown. Captain Zorketh of the Hegemony flagship looked at his sensors in confusion. "These readings make no sense," he told his crew. "Those structures are alive, but they're also machines. How is that possible?" On the surface of Earth, something even more impossible was happening. In the streets of every city, humans and Kethmore worked together like they had been partners for centuries. The 12-foot-tall predators moved among humans with gentle care, their enhanced senses helping guide human workers to build amazing things. In Seoul, a Kethmore named Sharp-Eye was helping human architects design a new hospital. His incredible vision could see structural problems that human eyes would miss. In London, a Kethmore called Swift Claw was working with human surgeons, her precise movements helping save lives that would have been lost without her help. The changes weren't just on Earth. Every human colony now had living buildings that could repair themselves, ships that thought and felt, and technology that seemed like magic to the rest of the galaxy. But when the Coalition fleet arrived in Earth's solar system expecting to fight, they got the biggest surprise of all. The humans didn't attack them. Captain Park Jun-ho of Earth Defense Command sent a message to every ship in the alien fleet. His voice was calm and friendly, like he was talking to old friends instead of invaders. "We know why you came here," Park Jun-ho said. "You're scared of what we've become. You think we're dangerous because we're different. But look around you. Look at what we've built with our new family. There's room in this big galaxy for all of us to live together." Many of the alien crews were looking at their screens in wonder. They could see human children playing with young Kethmore in parks made of living crystal. They watched human scientists and Kethmore explorers planning trips to distant stars together. They saw cities where dozens of different species lived in peace. "The Kethmore taught us something important," Park Jun-ho continued. "Real strength doesn't come from being the biggest or the scariest. It comes from finding your pack, the people, who understand you and help you become better than you could be alone." Some ships in the alien fleet began to slow down. Their crews were more curious than angry now. A few ships even broke away from the attack formation and moved closer to Earth, sending requests to talk instead of fight. But Vectar was furious. "This is some kind of trick," he shouted over the communication channel. "You cannot tame apex predators. It's impossible." The answer came from Security Chief Kim Jin-ho, who was now Earth's official representative to the Kethmore. He was standing next to his partner, a Kethmore called Trueheart, in the main communication center. "You're right," Kim Jin-ho said with a smile. "You can't tame them, but you don't need to tame someone who chooses to be your family." Trueheart made the low musical sounds that meant agreement in Kethmore language. Through the translator, his words reached every ship in the fleet. Pack bond is not taming. Pack bond is choosing to be stronger together than apart. The makers understand this. Why do the fear speakers not understand? Many ships in the alien fleet stopped moving entirely. Some turned around and began heading home. Others sent messages, asking if they could join this new alliance instead of fighting it. Vectar realized his great plan had failed completely. Worse, he was losing ships to the very alliance he had tried to destroy. In desperation, he sent one final message. "How is this possible? How do you make apex predators into partners?" The answer came from all across human space, from every colony where humans and Kethmore worked together. It was simple but powerful. You don't make them into anything. You just treat them like family. As the alien fleet scattered, some ships stayed behind, not as enemies but as guests who wanted to learn about this impossible friendship. The galaxy watched in amazement as the most feared predators in history chose to explore the stars alongside the strangest species they had ever encountered. The Kethmore had been waiting 10,000 years for their creators to return. Instead, they had found something better, a new pack that would journey with them to discoveries beyond imagination. The hunt for knowledge had begun again, and this time, they would not hunt alone.